This video is for chemistry class, chapter 1, and what it's going to be about is matter and the states of matter. So after you are done watching this video, you should be able to define matter and identify and describe the states of matter. Remember, as you watch the video, feel free to pause it, rewind it as necessary so that you can get the information that you need. Also, as you're going through this, if anything isn't clear to you or you have further questions, mark that down. Either put a little star by it or write down the question you want to ask me when you get back to class tomorrow. So, we will go ahead and start this first video. Again, you should be able to define matter and then describe the states of matter when you are finished. So, matter, you probably remember from other science classes, is defined as anything that has mass and volume. Mass is the amount of stuff in the matter. It's the amount of matter. Volume is the amount of space that matter takes up in 3 dimensions. Students often confuse weight with mass. Mass is a constant quantity that does not change when gravity changes, but weight is the effect of gravity on the mass. So mass is how much stuff there is. Volume is how much space that stuff takes up. Matter is built from little tiny particles that we're going to study a lot more later on, called atoms. So although it's not important to understand everything about atoms at this point, just know that the smallest building block of matter is called an atom. Matter has the ability to resist changes in motion, and we call that property inertia. You might remember that word from 9th grade physical science. Inertia is the ability to resist changes in motion. So if something is a big object, it is going to have more inertia than something that is a small object. And then lastly, the important thing to understand about matter is the law of conservation of matter. Conservation just means that something is saved. So matter cannot be created or destroyed in an ordinary chemical reaction. So matter cannot be created, can't come out of nowhere, and when you do a chemical reaction, the matter that was there at the beginning has to be accounted for at the end. Now moving on to the states of matter, matter exists in 4 states, but in our chemistry class, we're going to focus on only 3 of those 4. The first 3 are the most common states, and you've, I'm sure, heard of these in other of your classes. Solids hold their shape and have a definite volume. So if you look at the picture right underneath solid, you can see that that blue cube is representing where the matter would exist in that sort of invisible box. And if you could look at the particles in that solid, the atoms, those particles would be right next to each other, lined up exactly, closely packed, tightly bound together. That's why solids hold their shape so well, and they have a defined volume. Now, if you give a solid a little bit of heat, eventually it can warm up and change state into a liquid. And a liquid takes the shape of the container. So if we took this blue cube that is in the solid and we heated it up, eventually that solid would melt and a liquid would be in the container. Now the liquid takes the shape of the container, but it still has a defined volume. And if you were to look at the particles in the liquid, they'd be a little bit farther apart than they were before when they were in the solid. And they'd be a little bit more randomly arranged, but they're still pretty close together. They're just not as packed, as tight as they were when they were solids. Now, if you take that liquid and you heat it up even more, eventually it will change state again and become a gas. And gases have particles that fill the entire container. So not only do they take the shape of the container, but they will fill the entire volume of the container. So if the container's huge, the gases will occupy a large space. If you make the container smaller, the gas molecules will go closer together and still fill that entire container. Now the molecules themselves are really far apart, and you can almost see that in the box that's shown. Those molecules are moving fast and not very near each other at all. So solid, liquid, and gas are the 3 states of matter that we're going to talk about most in chemistry class. However, there is a 4th state of matter called plasma. Plasma exists only at extremely high temperatures. It's charged particles. Something like the sun or a star would have plasma. And because it's something that we don't need to focus on for our studies, that's all you need to know right now. So hopefully you've understood what matter is, how to define it, and the states of matter after watching this video. Thanks.